Welcome to Direct Talk. Assumpta Uwamariya is an up-and-coming young entrepreneur for making wine in Rwanda. She produces beetroot wine. It's a unique beverage that has never been available before. Uwamariya is sending a powerful message to young entrepreneurs. Keep your dreams and move forward without giving up.
Around the time I started farming in order to produce wine, some of my friends made fun of me, saying, "Should a university graduate really be farming?" That made me feel incredibly depressed, but I didn't give up.
Her red wine, called Karisimbi, is made from beetroot. With a more refreshing palate than regular red wine, it's so popular at local supermarkets and pubs that it quickly sells out.
It's tasty and sweet like sugar, so I can gulp it down.
It's lighter than the dry wine I usually drink and easy to drink. Beetroot is often called edible blood transfusions because it's rich in minerals and high in nutritional value. It has been widely grown in Rwanda as it can be cropped in just 6 weeks. However, only the stems are traded. They sell well as feed for cattle, but the roots are mostly disposed of in bulk.
When I decided to start a business, I wanted to do it using something close to me. And I thought I could maybe do something using beetroot when I saw that so much of it was going to waste. The idea grew of wanting to use beetroot to support the lives of other people. Winemaking with beetroot is now my life itself, and I want to continue this work until the day I pass away.
Uwamariya was born in Rubavu in the western province of Rwanda as the 7th child of 8 siblings. This photo, taken when she was a child, is the only photo she has from those days. In the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, more than 800,000 people were killed in a period of about 100 days. Uwamariya, who was 5 years old at that time, lost 2 siblings.
There was a genocide in Rwanda when I was still young. At home, my mother was crying every day as she remembered what had happened. I had a bitter childhood. The genocide killed some of my school friends. I started thinking, people die even though they study hard. So what's the point in studying? That put me in the position in which I no longer understood the importance or value of studying.
Although Uwamariya was not fond of studying, she made up her mind to go to university with the idea of wanting to support her family.
When I entered university, I started thinking that I should live without bothering my parents. I wanted to reduce the burden on my mother. And when I had my own family in the future, my children would not have to suffer hardships. I thought I should make an effort for that purpose. So I was thinking of getting a job after graduating.
According to the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, the national unemployment rate is 15.4%, which is low for Africa. Only a very limited number of people can work for major companies or as public servants. Uwamariya herself couldn't get a full-time job after graduating.
Many young people think they'll be able to get a job after graduation. But in reality, that's not true. Students think the government will arrange for them to be able to work in major companies. But in fact, only a few graduates can get work in that sort of environment. I myself couldn't get a proper job after graduating from my university. I remained unemployed, So I had to support myself by doing some counseling, producing bridal clothes, selling vegetables in the market, and doing many other things.
A big change occurred in Uwamariya's life when she worked as an assistant to a businessman in a German event held in her local area. It served as a turning point in her life.
I offered the beetroot juice I made to some Germans, and they really seemed to enjoy it. And one of them said, "Well, the color is very nice. If you like wine, why don't you try making some beetroot wine?" I had never heard of anyone making beetroot wine in Rwanda. I thought it was a very innovative idea and could definitely be successful as a business. However, I didn't know how to make wine. When I consulted the German man, he said, "I see potential in you. Okay, I'll teach you the basics of winemaking." That was just the start of my winemaking career.
Although she had identified an opportunity for winemaking becoming a business, Uwamariya didn't know in detail how she should make wine using beetroot, and she continued looking for the best method. It was her mother who provided a breakthrough. She had made and sold banana beer as she raised her children. So Uwamariya asked her advice about producing wine.
I grew up watching my mother making beer from banana juice. So, when I started making beetroot wine, I asked her to give me some advice on fermentation and preservation. When I decided to make winemaking into a business, I had very little savings, so I had to borrow money from an association. But when I sold my wine for the first time, I received $60 for 20 liters, which was 3 times my estimate. That assured me that beetroot winemaking could become a real business.
In 2016, she set up her own company named Karasimbi Wines Limited. But although she had launched the business, she had a hard time raising funds. However, she started gaining prize money from contests, including an award supporting entrepreneurs, and she expanded her business. The production originally took place in the corner of her kitchen at home. Today, it has grown to the extent that around 15,000 bottles are produced annually, with sales of $100,000. At her brewery, all the procedures, including cutting the beetroot, boiling, and fermenting, are still carried out by hand.
If the labeling and other procedures were automated, we could produce more wine. If we could produce more wine, then we could export to foreign countries, including China and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, I would like to ask the government for more support.
Having participated in political activities since her high school days, Uwamariya is always thinking of ways to improve her country.
After the genocide, the country placed priority on recovery and didn't have much leeway to focus on the young generation. But today, political stability has returned, and we have more time to consider the future of Rwanda. I feel my role is to communicate with the next generation. It's very important to think together about how we can help Rwanda to develop.
Another reason Uwamariya started her enterprise was to improve the social status of women.
My company now has 6 permanent employees, 1 man and 5 women. One of the reasons I wanted to launch a business was that I grew up in a community where women were positioned very low as members of society. For example, in the past, whenever I visited a friend's home, there was a custom that girls were not allowed to turn on the TV until their fathers came home. That shows just how much discrimination there used to be. I want to change this situation through my business.
According to the 2020 Global Gender Gap Report, Rwanda ranks as the 9th in the world in gender equality. Although women's participation in society is advancing, some men are still tied to an old-fashioned mindset. Uwamariya had many difficulties when starting her business, but it was once again her mother that opened up a path for her.
Around the time I started making wine, people thought it was not a woman's job. So, to start with, I had to change their way of thinking and show them that winemaking was in fact not limited to men. I got over this hurdle thanks to my mother. She said, "Don't you think it's unfair that only men can become rich?" And also, she emphasized, it's only right that women can earn money too. That was the start of me having confidence in myself. And then I started thinking, I wanted to become a person who could create money. When those men, who had originally said, "Why do you want to start a wine business? That's impossible for a woman," saw me being successful, they would start supporting me, saying, "Keep at it."
Uwamariya's wish in producing wine using locally grown beetroot is to make women's lives more stable.
In my local area, beetroot used to have very little value, and much of the root went to waste. But today, people are growing beetroot for winemaking, and that brings them some income. We've established an association to substitute for a bank, in which borrowing and saving money is possible. Moreover, women can now join the health insurance system. They can start buying clothes themselves to enjoy fashion, and they can have their children go to school.
There is a phrase that Uwamariya greatly values.
Think big. I have many things I want to do along with the young generation. We are barely at the starting line. I want to take on challenges with my friends, uniting our strengths. My dream is to have my wine enjoyed around the world. I want Made in Rwanda to become familiar worldwide. And I want my wine to be appreciated by people around the world. I also want the unemployed to know that they can start a business with just one idea. I want them to make a move so that the whole region can be revitalized. Just like I was able to develop products by using beetroot, everyone should be able to find a specialty and start up a business. Young entrepreneurs should believe in themselves and the importance of having a positive goal. Together with them, I want to build a brighter future by setting high goals. I hope the businesses we created won't end with our generation, but will be handed down to the next generation.